Olam chesedi bani, yadadai, yadai, yadai. Olam chesedi bani, yadadai, yadai, yadai. Olam chesedi bani, yadadai, yadai, yadai. Olam chesedi bani, yadadai, yadai, yadadai. I will build this world from love, yadadai, yadai, yadadai. And you must build this world from love, yadadai, yadai, yadadai. God will build this world from love, yadadai, yadai, yadai. If we all build this world from love, yadadai, yadai, yadadai.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to our Social Action Shabbat. It's a Shabbat, a special Shabbat we hold every year to celebrate social action in our congregation, to often to talk about issues that are on the forefront of in our civic world. This year, we're going to have a number of readers and readings that relate to the recent overturning of Roe v. Wade. We're also celebrating Lenny and Heidi. The two are not related. So I want to make sure, because I know we have two very different groups that are here. One to celebrate a wonderful wedding this weekend, and other people who are here because they want to talk about recent Supreme Court decisions. And I can see we have some people who might be of an age where their parents don't want them to hear everything that's going on tonight. So there is a kids' room off to the side if there are times where you don't want your kids to be a part of our discussion. But we are thrilled. We could not be more thrilled to celebrate Lenny and Heidi. It is not often, I would say it's quite rare, in the history of a congregation that two kids in our congregation marry each other, and so, you know, usually one of the people from the congregation brings somebody from another congregation or another faith into the congregation. In this case, we're the house of love here. It's such an exciting. I know. So it's a really a joy to welcome their families here and to celebrate them tonight as they prepare for their wedding tomorrow. We'll begin by lighting our candles as we invite Shelley Krakauer to lead us in the blessing. It's found on page 2 in our prayer book.
Source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, Asher Kitshanu b'mitzvotav etzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher וקדשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של Shabbat.
Thank you, Shelley. We take a moment to walk back through our week, to recall the blessings that we've experienced, the people we've talked to, the relationships we've built up, and perhaps even the stumbling blocks we faced as we enter into this Shabbat. We honor those moments of blessing and allow the challenging moments to be a part of the past. This is our time to be together, to find a sense of the sacred, a sense of peace, and a sense of blessing. We turn to page 20, the words of L'cha Dodi, as we prepare to welcome that feeling of Shabbat into this room.
L'cha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'cha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad hishmiyanu el hamayuchad Adonai echad hu shamo echad l'shem ol tiferet v'litchila. L'cha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'cha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat l'cha v'necha ki mekur habaracha merosh mikedem nasucha sof ma'aseh b'mashchavat tchila. L'cha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'cha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hit'oreri kiva orach kumi uri shir daveri k'vod Adonai alayich nigma. L'cha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'cha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela.
Please rise as we turn towards our entrance and welcome Shabbat.
Bo'i v'shalom ateret bala gama b'simcha u'v'sochola toch emuneh am sagula. Bo'i chala L'cha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'cha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nekabela. Page 26. Yitgadal v'kadash shemei Rabbah be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayichon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecha ben Yisrael bagala uv'izman kariv v'maru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevarach le'alamo me'almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yirama v'yitnasi v'yitadar v'yitali v'yitalal שמי נקודש בריחו לילה מן קורבחתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירה מיומה וימרו Amen.
Page 28.
La 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Vayid HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Vayid.
Please remain standing as it's an honor to invite Marty Belsky to share a reading with us as a member of our Social Action Committee.
This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it, we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai Hamariv Avaravim.
Please join us in Shema, page 34 and 35.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Vayid. Please be seated and join me in chanting V'ahavta, page 36. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadevarim ha'ele asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom alavavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam V'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'latecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha Ukshartam le'ot ayadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha Uktavtam al mezuzot beitecha Uv'isharecha Lema'an tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai V'tem kedoshim le'Elohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hotzeiti etchem Me'eretz Mitzrayim Liot lachem le'Elohim Ani Adonai Elohechem.
We invite Bruce Folkert, a member of our committee, to share a reading with us found on page 39.
Okay, this is done responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered at Sinai. We bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day
Peace.
when the nations
Will be one and at peace. And shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Page 40, Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot osei fele, Nora tehilot osei fele. Malachutecha ra'u vonecha vokei hayam livnei Moshe u'Miriam zelianu ve'amaru Adonai imloch le'olam va'id.
We invite Bruce Zake, chair of our Social Action Committee, to share the reading on page 43.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and in eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporez sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
Page 46 and 47, we prepare for our most serious prayers. We ask if we can pray as if everything depends on God, but act as if it depends upon us. Page 46, please rise.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avoteinu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chaste Avot ve'imahot, U'mevi ge'ula livnei v'neihem, L'ma'an shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah Rav le'Hoshia, Morid hatal, Mechokel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Micha mocha ba'al gevurot, Umidom elach, Melech me'mit u'mechayeh, u'matzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman ata lehachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol.
Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha sala baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. I invite Jim Levin to share a reading fitting for this year's theme on reproductive rights as a part of our Amidah this evening.
A prayer for those denied abortion care. May you be safe. May a canopy of safety and peace, health and care cover you, despite everything you are now forced to endure. May you find ways to own your body, your agency, and your dignity, despite everything the government has taken from you. May you be surrounded by a community of caring hands and loving hearts who can hold you. May you always know that you are holy, sacred, and your will, your autonomy, matters, should be respected as such. May you be protected in all ways, able to weather the material, physical, emotional, and spiritual hardships that come your way. May you find within your resilience, strength, and bravery. May you know you are not alone.
With all of the fears and worries and challenges that our world has faced, we certainly turn to Shalom Rav, page 60, knowing that these words seem to be more authentic every day. And as we focus this evening on those who particularly have had to make challenging personal decisions, often without anyone knowing, we ask that some part of this Shalom Rav, this overwhelming peace, finds its ways into the corners that we don't even know about. That everybody find that they are in the presence of shalom, a sense of wholeness, a sense of themselves, a sense of love, and a sense of peace. Page 60, Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amecha. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amecha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav. Ki ata hu melech Adon, melech Adon, l'chol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon, melech Adon, l'chol hashalom. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amecha. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amecha, Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'necha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol het uv'chol hashah b'shlomecha b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav HaYisrael Amcha. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav HaYisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Shalom Rav.
Take a moment to pray silently.
This is a prayer for reproductive freedom. God of our ancestors, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, we affirm that you have created each of us in your sacred image, endowed with the inherent right to dignity and autonomy. We ask that you guide us towards a caring and loving community and nation that will revere this dignity in each of us. We affirm that reproductive freedom, the sacred right to own the personhood of one's own body, is a fundamental part of the just society for which we strive in your name. We ask that you endow us with the strength and resolve we need, because the path that lies ahead is challenging, and we all need resilience, strength, and courage. We ask that you protect the most vulnerable and marginalized among us, because it is they who are most at risk. We do this work in your name, O God, because we are the compassionate, loving creations of a compassionate, loving, and just God. It is holy and sacred work. May our country become a place of liberty and justice for all, and may our care for one another include care and respect for each other's right to good and affordable health care, including abortion care, and the right to live safely and securely as we each follow our path of conscience and the God in which we do or do not believe. Amen.
God, create a pure heart within me. Let my soul wake up in your light. Open me to your presence. Flood me with your Holy Spirit, that I may stand and sing out the power of your forgiveness, so that I will teach your love to the lonely. The lost will find their way home. God, Adonai, open up our lips that our mouth can continue to declare your praise. Amen. We turn from our most serious prayers to another very serious moment, that of blessing Heidi and Lenny. And so we invite you up to our bima. These two lovebirds, so deep in love, just met a few weeks ago. Plus 14 and a half years, and who have been a part of this congregation, as I mentioned, for years, not only in time, but also in what you've given and the ways that you've been a part of the fabric of who Temple Israel is. It is such a great joy to be able to offer a blessing over the two of you on the eve of your wedding. And so I invite everyone here to please stand as we open the ark and offer this blessing over them, and then invite you to share in the words of Shakianu as we as a congregation bless, which I'll still keep calling you, these two children of our congregation. Kol sason v'kol simcha. A voice of joy and a voice of gladness, we rejoice with you on this Shabbat as you prepare for your wedding to be together under the chuppah. May you know much joy and gladness throughout your years together. May you have the strength of spirit for times of sorrow and hardship. May the home that is new to you and that you will continue to build up be a home filled with delight and laughter, an unending devotion for each other. And may that home be based on ma'asim tovim, acts of loving kindness, that you be blessed with happiness, love, and peace. Baruch atah Adonai, blessed are you, God, for this opportunity for us to celebrate with this bride and this groom. Blessed are you, God, for all the joyful moments we share as a community, for the joy of this loving couple, as we invite you to turn and face this congregation as we offer the words of Shechianu over this joyous moment that will continue throughout this weekend, and we pray throughout your marriage.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu, v'kiyamanu, v'higyanu, lazman hazeh. Amen. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. Please be seated. With the joy of this weekend and Lenny and Heidi before us, we share some of that strength, the strength of the most powerful relationships in our lives, with those who are in need of healing. We turn now to page 253, our prayer for healing. We pray that all of those, especially those whom we know and love who are suffering in this moment, find the greatest sense of who they are, a sense of wholeness, of refuah shlema. Page 253.
Mi sheberach avotenu mekor havracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
If there are names you'd like to share, please share them aloud as I look around the room.
Kathy Meyerson, Reed Wasserstrom, and the family of Jalen Brown. Jalen Walker. Isheberach imotenu mekor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. In some ways, tonight's Social Action Shabbat marks the conclusion of a season of social action. For the last 6 months, our congregation has been working on a number of social action issues. From our anti-Semitism series to the Hunger Walk to the Interfaith Justice series with our Christian friends to our Muslim-Jewish dialogue with our friends from the mosque on Steele's Corners. And most recently to Mitzvah Day that many of you participated in. There is an amazing amount of work that goes into these ongoing projects. And it would be appropriate to simply say tonight, thank you. So let's start with that. If you're on the Social Action Committee, can you please stand so we can say thank you? And if you participated in any of these projects, if you could please stand so we can say thank you. You can be seated if you'd like. So that could be it. Social Action Shabbat is planned to look back at these last months, to thank our devoted volunteers, to thank all the people who have helped bring us closer to our interfaith neighbors, to better our city, to inspire our congregation. And this is probably somewhere along the lines of what we were thinking months ago when we looked at July and put Social Action Shabbat on the calendar. Look at what we would be able to look back and celebrate. Tonight, though, can no longer be about simply celebrating the ongoing work we are doing and have always done in this congregation. How could we possibly just look back when we are just days after another mass shooting, this time in Highland Park, Illinois, a neighborhood many of us know personally? The discussion of mental illness and gun violence is fresh on our minds. How could we just look back and pat ourselves on the back for volunteering when that is right before us? How in Akron can we just talk about the last few months when we've come to know the name of Jayland Walker as someone infamous now in our city that has put us into the international news? How can we look back when the question of racial justice, equity in our system is a question about Akron, Ohio? I spoke with a friend, one of the leading black pastors in Akron this week, to ask him how he was doing, how his community is, and perhaps what we could do. He said, "I want people to know that we live in a world where a white man who succeeded at mass murder and terrorized a whole city was handcuffed while a black man who ran from the cops for a traffic violation was shot more than 60 times. We talked and we shared that we know it's more complicated than that. But I think he's asking a valid question. Why such a difference? What's different in our world that these events continue to repeat themselves in such a way? And perhaps he gave a little bit of insight as to what it feels like to be a black man in Akron, Ohio this week or this month. We're not even 6 weeks past the murder of students and teachers at Uvalde on the last day of school. And we're still in the wake of 2 shocking reversals by the Supreme Court, a decision to permit public prayer following a high school football game, and of course, the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So tonight may have been planned as the culmination of a season of social action, but I think it's better to call tonight the beginning of a new year ahead. Tonight, I firmly believe, is as much the beginning of our High Holy Days as any other day on the calendar. And so that's how I hope we treat it. The issues are too important, the world too broken. We cannot wait until Rosh Hashanah in September to talk about our goals for the coming year. We can't wait until our kids return to school to talk about gun violence and school safety. And perhaps we can say we have already waited far too long to talk about reproductive rights, Roe v. Wade and the right for women to make decisions about their bodies and their lives as we understand as Jews. And so with this last topic, we will begin. I want to start by saying there is a lot to say about the recent decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. There are a lot of reasons to preach about this issue: women's rights, religious rights, the fact that our daughters and wives, like 1 out of every 4 women in our country, have abortions. The fact that there is a massive equity issue among people who have the means to travel and get high-quality health care and those who cannot. I am putting all of those issues aside to try to give what I believe is a purely Jewish voice to this issue. There are 2 main frameworks we use when we look at this issue. I frame them as the legal political and the personal. The legal political framework, we're really familiar with this. This is how we usually talk about it. It asks, who or what does the law protect? It turns to the courts and to lawmakers and politicians to create protections for what the law values, for perhaps we might say what the law prioritizes. Then there's the personal. The personal asks questions about the person, the victim per se, the family, their story. The personal framework wants to know the details. The legal framework just wants to know what the precedent is. The U.S. Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade opens the door for states to answer these questions specifically. The answer to the political question in Ohio, since that's where we live, is that the law protects a fetus after 6 weeks. And likely, we could presume, that'll soon be moved back to conception. That is a legal political framework. In the personal framework, the unique circumstances of a personal story, the decision in Ohio, with a very few limited situations, declares that the individual circumstances don't matter. We know this from the recent 10-year-old rape victim in Ohio who was refused an abortion because she discovered the pregnancy past the 6-week trigger mark. If you value the personal part of the story, then certainly we would say this must be the most extreme of cases, that a 10-year-old would be given the right to have the procedure. But in Ohio, we've said that the personal is not justification for going around the law as it's set. And so she traveled to Indiana. Those are the 2 frameworks. That's where Ohio sits, to the best of my understanding today. So let me try and give Judaism's response to these 2 questions. First, the legal and political framework. Judaism is clear and consistent from as early as the book of Exodus to the statements of medieval rabbis, to the most orthodox leaders in Israel today. The law values the woman over the fetus. In the book of Exodus, it's told in the story of 2 men who, in the midst of fighting, push a pregnant woman, causing a miscarriage. Immediately following the story of that incident, we find out the punishment. Whoever caused the miscarriage is to be fined, but the verse continues, if there's any injury to the woman, the penalty shall be life for life, eye for eye, or tooth for tooth. In other words, while the miscarriage carries the penalty of financial sacrifice, it is nowhere near as severe as causing any damage to the woman. And so, our commentaries have said for a long time that Exodus protects the mother first and protects the fetus second. Perhaps closer to the debate today, there have been a lot of discussion among the rabbis as to how to define a fetus. There's a wide variety of opinions. One explains that the fetus is considered to be like water until the 40th day, what would be the 7th or 8th week by our counting. Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi, one of the most prominent names in the Talmud, is said to have taught that the fetus should be considered as though it is the thigh of the mother. In other words, like any other body part and not an independent being. If we were to ask at what point the rabbis declared that the fetus is an independent being equal to that of the mother, they're also clear. In the Mishnah, an early rabbinic text, They declare that if a woman is having trouble giving birth and her life is in danger, they must do whatever they can, including ending the pregnancy if it saves the life of the mother, unless the child is more than halfway out of the mother's body. At that time, both the child and the mother are considered equal independent lives, and we cannot trade one life for another. Finally, Rashi, an 11th century thinker, declares that our soul is not complete until a person breathes the air of the world. Until one is considered a soul, we prioritize the life of the mother, who has breathed the air of the earth and therefore is considered a soul. But as soon as the head of a child comes out and takes its first breath, we're not permitted to take one soul for another soul. The two souls are independent beings. Therefore, Jewish law is clear in who it protects and in what priority. In the case of an accidental miscarriage, injury to the mother is valued more than injury to the fetus. In the case of an early pregnancy, the fetus is considered like a body part. The mother is protected. Late in pregnancy, until we breathe on our own, the mother's life is still given priority. And once we breathe and become a soul, the two lives are considered equal. So that is the legal political. What about the personal? Judaism tells us that details matter. In the 18th century, the rabbis ask, even if a married woman becomes pregnant from an adulterous relationship, sometimes you have to wonder where they come up with the examples, but that's a different sermon. Even if a married woman who becomes pregnant from an adulterous relationship and her life is not in jeopardy, she is permitted to abort the pregnancy due to the, in their words, woe and great pain that would be brought upon her and her family. In a more recent ruling, Rabbi Aaron Lichtenstein summarizes the reasons that are used in the Talmud why someone might pursue abortion. Among the reasons he mentions, he lists kavod habriot, the dignity of the people involved, shalom bait, holding the peace together among a family, and sa'ar, the pain that one will experience in the future. All of those, according to him and the rabbis, are reasons that a woman could submit for an abortion. So when Judaism debates whether the personal matters, whether the details of your family situation and how you came to be pregnant weigh in on the situation, it seems to me it's quite familiar with a number of very detailed scenarios. And the Judaism's response is the details that impact the life of the mother, the life of the family, the pain that will be experienced, whether that pain is psychological, social, or physical, seem to matter. They are, in Judaism's eyes, valid justification for ending a pregnancy. In the wake of the recent Supreme Court's decision, the state of Ohio has declared that the entity to be protected by the law is a fetus past 6 weeks of conception. Judaism declares the entity to be protected by the law is the mother until the moment the child takes a breath. The state of Ohio has declared that the personal story of a person should not impact the ruling of the court, that a 10-year-old girl raped and impregnated against her will may not abort the pregnancy in the state of Ohio because those details shouldn't be taken into account. Judaism says the details matter. A grown woman who commits adultery can end a pregnancy for the sake of her family's peace, for the sake of dignity, or to avoid future pain. I do not agree with the Ohio law, and I do not agree with all of the Jewish law, which is why Judaism and Jews in America have always been overwhelmingly in favor of the pro-choice ruling. It is not up to the state of Ohio to decide where my moral limitations are. And while I value the wisdom of our tradition as a guide in my life, there are plenty of times I disagree with Judaism. There are plenty of times I adapt it, or even outright reject the direction that has been set by previous generations living at a different time in history. The Jewish community did not come to call America home because we wanted our values to reign supreme over other people. We came to America because we wanted to live in a society where no one religion laid claim to the moral and ethical code we had to live by. the current direction of our country's highest court and leadership, is not disturbing to Jewish Americans because it is in opposition to our tradition or to our personal opinions, at least not Jewishly. We invite debate and dissent. It's disturbing because it excludes our voice. It is disturbing because it leaves no room for dialogue, for details, for debate and differing opinions. It is disturbing because it replaces religious freedom with religious fundamentalism codified into law. I know a lot of people, as you've told me, want to know, well, what are we supposed to do now? It seems that decisions have already been made, and if we're honest, we're exhausted by how many fights we've had. I imagine most of us would say, I know I had the energy, or my parents had the energy, or grandparents had the energy 55, 60 years ago to fight this fight when it was one of the preeminent fights that they needed to have at the moment, but I'm just tired. So, we'll work on that. There are ways to find resilience, and our people have done it many, many times before. In fact, one might say that our entire Torah is a story of people who had to wait a really long, long time and do things over and over and over again in the wilderness with no promise of exactly when it would end or if it would work. And the message continues to be, you keep marching on with the hope that the future turns towards justice, that dialogue, that raising our voices, that talking with people, showing them our perspective, that somehow that leads towards a promised land. Not where one side wins over the other, but where hopefully we all find a way to coexist. But for those who want specifics, there's a list that you were handed on your way in. That list consists of two lists, actually. One that has some things you can do nationally, most of them suggested by the National Council of Jewish Women, and some things you can do locally, most of them suggested by Sarah Yaronka. Sarah, raise your hand. Sarah's been active in this work in Akron, and she's she can be a great guide to you if you want to volunteer and get into this work and help people who are seeking abortions or who want to know more about what their rights and their choices are. Sarah's been on the front lines of this, and she can help you or even help you help those who are helping others. But as for my list is short. It in fact just has one thing on it, and that is this. Use your Jewish voice. Use it in personal conversations. Use it at the dinner table. Use it with elected leaders and in our choices for elections. And when I say use your Jewish voice, I don't mean just share your opinion. I mean this is a Jewish issue. Say, as a Jew, this is how I feel, because for us, and there are certainly, as I said at the beginning, other ways to look at this, but from a Jewish perspective, one of the primary issues is one of religious freedom and having a religious voice. And so if we never say those words that are probably very uncomfortable for us, as a Jew, I feel, then no one will know that there is a Jewish opinion that is different and drowned out and unheard in our world. And they will presume, as many do, that all religions agree on this, which they don't. So I hope we claim this conversation as a Jewish conversation, one that started in the book of Exodus and that continues today. Because we're part of this conversation, we cannot wait to be called upon. We have to speak up to be heard. Which is why I think we can't wait. In 3 months, we'll hear the sound of the shofar. And in case over these last 9 months you've forgotten all the metaphors and ways we talk about the high holidays, we talk about the shofar as something that is a call to wake us up. My sense is when we hear it this year, I don't think we're going to be sleeping. How could we? We've been hearing the shofar every week. The sound of loss in a 4th of July parade that woke us up. The loss of equity in our justice system over and over again. It refuses to let us sleep. The loss of innocence in our schools. The loss of religious freedom in our courts. How can we not hear it all the time? May the new year begin today. And may the coming year be a better year. Shabbat Shalom. Page 282, please rise for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tikenu l'aliatzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoyeh harotzut, velo zamanu kamishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam chalkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu kurim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא ביום ההוא יהיה Ushamo, Ushamo, Ushamo.
Please be seated. We turn our thoughts to those that we've loved and lost. Reading page 291. Yesh kochavim sha'oram magia arza. There are stars up above, so far away. We only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways that we remember. This week, we recall those that we've lost in these recent days, Marilyn Zuckerman and Greta Meyer. We add to their names those that we lost at this season in years past: Rose Azine, Bernie Bobkoff, Norwin Brovitz, Marvin Cohen, Florence Dubrow, Anna Greenberg, Lena Hirsch, Joseph Krakover, Marvin Levine, Alan Lowy, Louis Medvin, Louis Meyer, Miriam J. Newman, Max Robinson, Hannah Rosenfeld, Morris Sachs, Libby Schneer, Claire Simpson, Eugene Triber, John Waits, and Dante Walker. If there are names you'd like to share, please share them. Please rise, page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shmei rabbah, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, b'agala uvizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei olmaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei dekudashah barichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, da'amiran b'alma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Having connected with those that we've loved and lost, we offer the words of the priests over each other. May God bless you and keep you. May God's light shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May you feel God's presence within you always. May you find peace. Please remain standing for Kiddush and Motzi as we invite Art Krakauer to lead us. It's page 4 and 5 in our prayer books. Turn all the way back.
The heaven and the earth were finished, and all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing. And God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodesho b'yahava uvratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lemasi v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher l'tziat mitzrayim. Ki banu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikahanim, v'shabbat kodecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchatanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen.
Please join us in Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Please be seated. Shabbat Shalom. We'll invite Elaine Newman, one of our co-presidents, to share a couple quick announcements with us.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you to Shelley Krakauer for lighting the candles and Art Krakauer for doing our blessings over the challah and the wine. Thank you, Eli, for playing the piano beautifully again. Thank you to Lenny.
Laying you out.
Thank you. Thank you to Lenny and Heidi for sponsoring the wine and cheese, and mazel tov to both of you. We hope to see a lot more of you around Temple. We miss you. Thank you to Social Action. You are the root of our temple. You have done an amazing job here, and thank you for tonight. We look forward to a lot more. Sisterhood Shabbat is almost here, because I feel like I've been saying this every single week. It's going to be on August 5th. They're sponsoring a barbecue oneg after the service, and the menu will be found in the weekly email. The gift shop is open on Wednesdays, until mid-September, and you will get a 20% discount on any regularly stocked item. and it's open from 12:30 to 4:30. Shabbat Shalom.
Please rise as we'll close with the words of Olam Chesed Yibaneh. May we build this world filled with peace.
Olam Chesed Yibaneh, Yadadai, Yadadai, Yadadai. 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 I will build this world from love. I will build this world from love. Yadadai, yadadai, yadadai. You must build this world from love. You must build this world from love. Yadadai, yadadai. If we build this world from love. If we build this world from love. Yadadai, yadadai, yadadai. God will build this world from love. God will build this world from love. Yadadai, yadadai, yadadai. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.